This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 199.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode, and it's a great one, as per usual. I have a great guest. His name is Jeff Margolese, and he's the head honcho, I guess, at ServiceNow. It was great to talk to him, and I've been talking to a lot of leaders recently, mainly because I'm curious about the role. I'm trying to learn from them as much as possible. And we talk about a lot of different things about like how sales engineering should be and all that different stuff. I'd like to talk to Jeff. We did discuss that, but we also discussed how sales engineers can stand out. So at an individual level. So, and it was a great conversation based on that, and we built on that as we went throughout our conversation. So it was a great show, and I want you to listen to it. So let's just jump right in. Good morning, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm good, Ramsey. How are you?
I'm happy to be on a call with you. And for those who aren't happy listening to you yet, because they don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. And I appreciate you having me, by the way. So Jeff Margolese, I live in Dallas, Texas, and I run the global solution consulting organization here at ServiceNow for the last almost on 7 years, lucky number 7.
Oh, all right. Can you define solution consulting? Because there are so many terms and everybody does different things. Can you define solution consulting for me, please?
Yeah, well, we'll take a shot at that. I mean, that's a funny question in the terms of you're right. I can use the more traditional definition, which is pre-sales. I would say we are, in relative terms, a pre-sales organization, but our style here is not better or worse, but it's evolved to our own, which is we have our traditional product demo side of our business, which we do like anybody else would do, but that's not a prime go-to-market strategy for us in the pre-sales or solution consulting world here. We're probably a little bit different in that realm. Like I said, not that much different from others in that, we try to do a lot more discovery with our customer base around, with leading questions. Of course, it's not just an open book with that. Although we're an application development platform, we really could build anything if you want. Doesn't mean you should. But we'll start with some discovery and then try to do some solution orientation fit. And then if you're talking about some of our biggest customers and opportunities, we might, do a full-blown human-centered design workshop with our customer base in a pre-sales engagement, and then we'll build a prototype, a working prototype for them. So we've got a design studio that can help our customers really envision what our solutions would look like for them in their environments. And then hopefully that will lead to a transaction, a sale on our side, and hopefully a value proposition for our customers on the other side. So for us, from a solution consulting perspective, it's a lot of those phases that we do here. Now, it depends on where you are, what type of customer base, what segment, et cetera, as to how we might engage. But we will potentially do all of those things from a pre-sales or solution consulting standpoint.
So I've been talking to many SEs, and it seems many SEs have difficulties when it comes to discovery calls. Either they're being called into a qualification call disguised as a discovery call, or the salesperson never calls them in, or they don't want to be part of discovery because we are demo engineers. How does the team kind of, as a global SE leader, how do you push that culture down to make sure that SEs are involved as early as possible or whenever is right?
Yeah. So, and I'm aware of some of the challenges some other companies have, and let's be clear, we have a little bit of that too. I would be lying or ignoring the truth if I said we didn't have some of that. But I would say we're probably better than a few others in the respect that, for one, we're mostly one-to-one globally. So every rep works with an individual, in a dedicated fashion with a dedicated account base for the most part. So in that style that you just talked about, where the rep goes off and talks to some customer and then tries to reach back into that bag to grab a demo engineer, we just don't do that, because we're a tight team. A great example. I just had breakfast this morning with a local sales rep here, and you mentioned that he's like, "Oh, I came over from Oracle. I've been here a year and a half." And he goes, there was I love my SEs over there. They were, just as good and smart, et cetera, as what I've seen here. But he goes, the difference is I have a dedicated person. We're tight. We have the same number. We work with the same customer base. And so that whole, like, they go off and do something, goes, that just almost would never happen. I mean, it happens a little bit, but we're very tied with that. So the activity levels are there. They strategize together. They, again, they wake up and breathe in the same air type thing versus a pooled model, which has its own advantages for sure. But it just is not what we do. And on the last one, because we're not this product-led company, right? We're a platform style-based sale. And again, it's not a vindication or a better or worse than anybody else. It's just who we've evolved to. That product orientation-based sale that is more common and prevalent the way you portrayed that, it's just not what we do, right? And you're unique too in that, we have, our revenue is pretty sizable. We're about 6 or 7 billion. We'll see how the year ends here. But we only have 8,000 customers. That's a small customer base for that level of revenue. In other words, we're high in enterprise-based sales. We just don't do down market. Our product's just not amenable to a down market based sale, which means, hey, you're going to just approach it a little bit differently.
I wrote a blog post for a company called Vivin. I'm not sure if you're familiar, where I advocated for one-on-one versus pool. I have my own reasons because I like that, because I get to build relationships with the salesperson and also the customers, which in a pooled environment is kind of hard to do. Do you recall, or what was the reason you guys went with one-to-one versus pooled? Because it's cheaper to go with pooled, from my experience.
Well, it all depends on how you want to look at it. Yeah, you say cheaper, but then I'd also argue then your revenue doesn't grow as fast. Yeah. Since we're talking more about pre-sales environment here, as you and maybe some people that might listen to this know, I'm a huge proponent of our industry and our profession, industry being software, and then even more so our profession being the pre-sales solution consulting based world. And yeah, you can look at it as a cost thing. Well, can't you look at it the other way and say, well, why do we have so many reps? Why don't we have more SEs? I mean, it goes both ways. Why is that one versus the other? That's the first thing. And then, the question around, like, how did that happen? Well, when myself and a couple others were kind of brought in 6-7 years ago, as ServiceNow was evolving from a single product-based sale into a multi-product, multi-dimensional, multi-solution set, that was what several of us, said from a strategic standpoint. We're like, you want to do multi-product, multi-solution, et cetera, to the customer base. The only way to do it is start moving toward this one-to-one model. You've got to know the customer. You've got to create the relationship, and we've got to do a much more value-oriented, solution-based sale. And only SEs can really drive that. The sales teams won't do that of their own volition. And luckily the company bought into it. I report to the chief revenue officer here. I'm involved heavily with our strategy, et cetera. And it is built into our strategic plans that go way out years to continue on with this model in various levels and forms. And we've evolved it over the years. It's not as straightforward as maybe it used to be. We've got a relatively complex pre-sales organization over here nowadays, but its basis is still the same in that what you're talking about, Ramsey, around one-to-one, tight relationship, know the platforms, et cetera, et cetera.
What pushback, if any, did you get to go into that model?
None.
Nice.
I mean, I even meet with the chief financial officer here. As you can imagine, we're a relatively large line item. Just as a perspective, we make up about 11% of the entire workforce of the company, right? So yeah, I do have to go in and, somewhat justify a bit of that. But, if you go look at our, because it's all public information, our, cost of sale versus revenue and growth and all that, it's still in line or better than most of the other peer type companies sitting out there. So, and I think this is the thing for our industry, the pre-sales industry, that you need to get over this whole thing of like, quit worrying that we're an expense line item based thing. We're carrying the quota just like the sales teams are. And it's important to continue with that partnership. And yeah, I preach that and try to live that as much as possible. I'm tight with the sales leaders. They believe in the value. And by the way, we got to show up and execute. Let's be clear. This isn't just about some numbers and head count game. I could care less about that. And I don't really care how big we get. It's not relevant to me, the kingdom style building, but we go and provide a very valuable service for our customers and for, the sales team. It isn't support of sales, right? They've got to go close the deals. We don't do that. So it's important.
One thing, when I talk to sales engineers, especially new ones coming in, or when they're going into such a big company, they're worried they might get lost in the shuffle. They won't be recognized for whatever it is that they do. Salespeople get most recognition anyways from other companies that we worked for. What should engineers do, sales engineers or solutions consultant do, if they want to, like, maybe not become a manager, but they want to be recognized for the work that they do?
Well, that's always a fun one. I believe in two mantras, so to speak, that I try to, I don't know, dare I say it, but preach to our individual contributor community that wants to listen. Not all of them want to listen. And that's this, two things. One, be known for something, and be endearing to sales. So one thing, I'll start with the second one, go back to the first one. That whole be endearing to sales. Again, we don't work for the sales team per se. We do partner together, but I also try to tell our teams, listen, you got to remember the salesperson that you might work with. You might work with many of them. That's fine. They take a lot more risk than you do. You got to understand that. I think our side, the pre-sale side, kind of forgets that occasionally. Like, oh, why is all the accolades and the money and all that going to the sales side? We should get our fair share. So I'll get to the first piece with the first part of your question. But they take all the risk, right? We don't work in 50-50 plans, which a lot of sales reps do, and even more so. And I tell this to a lot of folks. I'm like, listen, when we have 4 bad quarters in a row in a territory being an individual rep and an SE typically, we don't fire the SE, we fire the sales rep. Okay. I don't know of very often, or ever maybe in my career at least, where we fired an SE due to bad territory performance. Have we had to manage out SEs for bad performance? Yes, for other areas, but for bad performance, no. But we get rid of reps all the time for that. Don't ever forget that. So when I go to be endearing to sales, don't ever forget the job that they've got, right? So let's show up, let's be professional, let's execute. Now, to the be known for something, right? More closer to maybe the original part of your question too. If you want to advance your career, get out there, there's self-promotion. Okay, that might help you, might not. I don't know what to tell you about that one, but I was always like, be known for something. Try to come up with something that, will differentiate your company, first of all, your solution sets, and hopefully you all in the process to show some differentiation. So I can give you a quick, story and example, if that's okay. Since we're all sales, we have to be storytellers, right? That's a key skill set that we all need to have. All right. So when I was actually, when I was at VMware, this is years ago, 2005, I just started there, but I was a frontline manager, right? But it's okay. These rules apply even if you're, trying to move up even that ladder, so to speak. But I never really thought of it in that terms. Anyway, so quick story. Get in there and VMware, this is like the heyday of VMware. Nobody was doing virtualization. It was so new, it was hot, blah, blah, blah. We were just blowing and going through customers like crazy in a good way, at a phenomenal product base. And we had this one rep in particular he was clearly head and shoulders of the rest. And we were all doing well, but he was doing 50% above. Now, this guy was like, I want to work 24/7. He'd do 5-6 sales calls a day in person. I mean, just the kind of thing you're like, dude, do you sleep? Anyways, so I was like, hey, can I do some ride-alongs, with him and my SE that was working with him. And he's like, yeah, come on, love to have you, and I was just in the learning type of mode. So we do some ride-alongs. And I noticed after we'd get through the pitch and the value, and by the way, that was a lot more demo orientation than we do today, the single product based sales at the time. And I would notice he would move quickly to value. and not in a here's the amount of money and hopefully you'll say some stuff. He had this little funny, because it's back in 2005. He had a laminated sheet that was like a spreadsheet that he could write on really quickly, and he just erase it, after he talked to a customer, which would showcase to the customer pretty quickly, like, hey, an investment of $100,000 in CapEx, you would save 200,000, let's say, whatever the numbers would be. Yeah. And it was pretty undeniable with how we were pitching and selling the product. I was like, well, that's pretty interesting. And after the couple of meetings, I'm like, hey, David, can I see that thing? And he showed it to me, and it was invariably underneath the covers was a spreadsheet. And I was like, hey, listen, I really love this, but you don't know enough about what you're really talking about. I got into servers and storage and networking, And I was like, can I get the spreadsheet? Let me fix it up. Like, I think we can actually make this even better. He's like, yeah, I don't care. He goes, I got this from some guy somewhere. He goes, I don't really know exactly what it's saying, but it works really well when we use it. So myself, a couple of SEs, we modified it, redid it, and our whole region started using it. Well, guess what? We ended up being #1 region for quite some time. And then broadly, the rest of the US started using our little spreadsheet. And to be clear, I didn't create it. I just kind of helped them modify it and elevate it. But you go back to being known for something. I got a little known for like, oh yeah. Hey, where's the spreadsheet thing you guys are doing? Can I get a copy of that? And what are you doing with it? And how'd you figure that out, et cetera? Always go find something. I was always looking for what's that little extra edge that I can do that makes our customers happy, is endearing to sales, makes our jobs easier. There you go.
Well, you just took away the question of what were you known for, but okay.
Well, that was back when I had to do the real work. Nowadays, I don't know, it's like budgets and spreadsheets. And
I guess you're known for Excel.
Yeah, I have good Excel skills. I still am pretty good at that.
So kind of the thing that pops in my head is, why wouldn't the SE share it to begin with? Why did you have to go on ride along? And that's the first thing. Yeah. Wouldn't he have been known for that instead of you potentially?
Well, at the time, I don't know that our SEs were even paying attention to that. They were very focused, maybe rightly so, on the technology. You're talking that was like as revolutionary for that time frame of technology that existed, right? I mean, I remember going to marketing events with hundreds of people, and you'd show vMotion. I mean, there would be like silence in the crowd, like, oh my God, how did you do that? When you're in that, like, who cares about the spreadsheet? The tech was pretty undeniable. So I think there was a bit of that. And I always just had that eye for I did a bit of this when I came to ServiceNow. I saw the first demos, and our SEs would be all excited to show you some feature they had. And I go like, okay, but so what? Like, what is it going to mean? Like, how is that going to do two things? How's it going to sell the software, and why is a customer going to want to buy it? Right? I don't want to be so bold to hey, let's just sell. What is the value prop that the customer is going to get? When I saw the spreadsheet aligned with, hey, all this technical stuff that we can showcase, I was like, all right, that's something. And nobody really put enough of the 2 and 2 together. I did a couple little things, literally clicks of a button, but
yeah, sometimes it just clicks and it works out in the future. Is there like an SE? You don't have to name names, obviously, but today, that is an individual contributor that you know about, and why would you know about that person? Or is it like, is there someone that's known for something within the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go from an hour ago. I just got a note from an SE over in Germany. We'll leave his name out. That's helping to work on one of our partnership alliance type of things, I'll just call it right now, that we're doing. And I mean, he's impressive. He's going above and beyond. Never mind, he runs his patch. I think he has some of the German auto manufacturers in his territory right now. But he's also looking at this tech partnership that we're creating. I'll even talk about what it is. So this is all public knowledge. So we've formed a partnership that we've announced with a company called Celonis, which does process optimization and mining and all this kind of stuff. And, we're in the midst of even building the integration between the two companies, but we have to showcase it already, right? We're trying to go as fast as we can to get this going. And so the SE in Germany and a whole bunch of other people, without getting into all the details, they of their own volition almost have created now a fully functional demo between that solution set and ours in the context of what a customer might want to do. And to me, that's that, I always talk to the teams, again, there's the being endearing to sales and, be known for something, but I can go even a level further talking about like be innovative, go fail fast, try something, that kind of thing. I highly encourage that. Even with a team the size of we are, which is, we're about 1,700 SEs, I'm like, go try stuff. Like we have guardrails we need to stick to for sure. But within those guardrails, I'm like, you run the regions out in, the Mittelstadt of Germany. I wouldn't know how to do that. So you tell us. And I just love that stuff. And then again, full circle, I noticed I got up this morning, my teams had a note from one of our guys on the West Coast, like, hey, do you know there's a full demo posted now on our internal like websites type thing of the Celonis integration? I was like, well, I saw it a couple of days ago, but all right, great.
Nice.
Just go do it.
It's interesting that what you just said about fail fast. A lot of times SE think that they cannot fail. And it's nice to have permission to fail. You said there are guardrails, like you're not swearing at someone like failing like that, but you're trying different things. And I think that's kind of almost a limit to our growth, that we never want to fail. So we never take risks and try things. So I'm happy to hear that you encourage that in one way, shape, or form.
We should have lived that. Listen, again, big company, there's maybe some limitations to that, but cool thing. I always tell people that aren't working here that maybe we're recruiting or something like that. I'm like, all right, hey, just to prepare you. I mean, we're a relatively large company. I said, but we're like the world's largest startup. Well, you're going to come in here and be like, ooh, it's kind of messy here a little bit. But then I'm like, I like our little mess. And two, the mess, it's not that messy, but the mess also comes with a lot of freedom on how you want to approach things. And we definitely encourage that. And I'm always looking for, hey, like what was innovative? And then let's see if we can take that to the, 1,500 teams we might have globally.
In my mind, and let me know what you think, I find it easier because in bigger companies, it's easier to experiment when you're an individual contributor in your own thing, because not many people will see it. And then if it works, now you get to advertise it. And if it fails, you can just shove it aside. No one will hear it, versus startups where the CEO is looking at your demo.
I think it could go both ways. Yes. But then you could say in the huge, more mature, large software companies, there's a lot of process in place too. And you got to follow the process. You go to the 100-person startup, they don't have any process. Yeah, the CEO, who's probably also the founder and wrote the code, they're trying to tell you how to, go sell the product and demo it, but then, they're not going into every meeting. So I think you end up with, I think it's just in different ways, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the company and how big it is at that point. And if they're going into every meeting, that means they're not doing their actual job.
Yeah. Go build the software. I got it.
Go do the visionary stuff so I can do the.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of things about like 2005 and now. How have you seen the SE skill set or the demand for the SE skill set change from what it was to what it is today?
Yeah. Well, I mean, many buckets in there. So demand is through the roof. Now, part of that is our industry and software in general. Let's just talking software. There's also the hardware side. There's industrial, blah, blah, blah. But I'll just talk about software. I mean, the explosion in the software industry is right along with the, the need for more pre-sales resources. But with the skill sets in particular, I think what has changed, some of it is still basic. I mean, as example, not advertising for them, but we use demo to win. We try to use that methodology with everywhere. No different than a lot of the other companies that are out there, doing that kind of stuff. I think they're great. I think a lot of them are pretty good. So we do that same thing to make sure that everybody's got that base, that demo skill set plus a bit of the presentation skill set and all the other things that come with it. But where I do think, at least for us, and I think a lot of the companies that are trying to do much more of a platform play, and that is, I think, what a lot of software companies aspire toward. Once you get into this platform play, for one, your total addressable market goes up by 20x instead of being just a single product. Well, if you're going to do that, and we're definitely in that realm, along with the Salesforces of the world and Workdays and Oracles, you know, all the big companies, but even a lot of mid-levels are doing it. I believe that you need to have an experience-led SE, okay? And when I say that, okay, there's giving the demo, and that's something, and doing it more the right way, like the demo to win type companies will teach you. That's a part of it. But if you go in and do what I talked about at the beginning, which was do a little more discovery. Now let's do some solution. You got to have the right kind of platform where you can do this quickly. You don't want to spend, the next 3 months doing a bunch of coding. Combine that with a very artistry driven environment. So as an example, we have UX and UI designers on our pre-sales team. They've seen our platform a little bit. I'm talking the real deal. We grabbed them out of the .com advertising space and said, hey, why don't you come work for a kind of a, bit of a monolithic, boring software company. It's kind of what we really are in the end, an enterprise software company. And we want to create great experiences for our customers, especially nowadays with like mobile, right? We try to, hey, I'll come in with a mobile experience. It's very user focused instead of backside. So most software companies, by the way, they make their money by charging not the user, but the people that have to service the user behind it. For us, we call that a fulfiller, right? But you could probably find that same kind of thing across most of the licensing models that are being used out there. Well, we try to, while we still have the licensing model, we want to focus on that experience for the user, because that's quite often who's going to buy the software anyway, or at least be the influencer around that. So I want, we sell employee experience or HR type software. Okay, what's the experience going to be like for the person using the service, not the backside fulfilling the service? Even though, by the way, that's where we charge the money.
Yeah.
And so we try to talk about experiences and, anyway, we got all kind of artistry around it. And I think that's the, somewhat the shift that I'm seeing, at least in the pre-sales world, that's a lot more driven toward experiences rather than demos. I think even the word demo, like we're trying to use that as little as possible.
What are you using instead?
Well, experiences.
Oh, okay.
Do a demo, yeah, but I don't want to do a demonstration. That just says, hey, I'll just show you my product. Let's come do the harbor tour, walk around, even if I use all that fancy training from Demo to Win and all that.
Yeah. I
want to come in and give you I love this term, bespoke. I want to give you a bespoke experience that's for you, that feels like it's yours, because that's how you'll get them to, open up the pocketbooks, and they'll get more value out of it. And then we typically hand it over even to the customer and say, hey, it's a part of the pre-sales engagement, but here you go. You can have the prototype, which will have a lot of artistry built into it.
So a lot of other companies might have went with the route of hiring an SE who has some UX UI design so that they can do that work themselves. Why did you go the other route?
So we were doing a little bit of that, but if you want to do it right, then you need people that do this for a living. For one, their velocity is way faster. They're better at human-centered design instead of, they get too product-led. You see it even in our own products. It's our out-of-the-box stuff. It doesn't look very pretty. It's a bunch of forms and list views, right? And that's fine because it's meant to be configured, right?
Yeah.
But you need the right kind of people that can do it. And I'll give a lot of kudos to a bunch of other companies. We took the best of what we saw from 3 or 4 different companies. I'll even name them. So Todd Jansen over at Salesforce has a Q branch. We started looking at what they were doing, like, that's pretty interesting. All right, love their concept. And he's doing some pretty advanced stuff over there. And then IBM has the garage team, right? And they were kind of in that realm. They didn't do as much experience, but they were definitely in the human-centered design space. SAP has the Haus they call it in German. Again, it's got a similarity, but they do it with a lot of pre-pandemic, but you'd go to their offices and they'd have these huge EBC center styled experiences that we're attempting. And then some of our partners like Accenture and Deloitte were doing similar things as well. So we kind of evaluated that and then said, all right, how do we do it in a little bit more of a virtual world? And we got lucky because we did set it up before the pandemic, but it worked well that we weren't so tied to something physical, and we dispersed the team. And yeah, it's made up of, we've got architects, we've got a factory of developers. So when we get a prototype request, we got 12, 14 people, we can shift them all onto it for a real short period of time to bang something out. And then the UX UI designers can come in and run workshops with the customers, et cetera, to build out an experience.
That's very interesting. There's something that just popped in my head that had nothing to do with what you were saying for some reason, but about being known for something. Let's say you have people who are trying to become SE managers, and if you're advising everybody to be known for something, at some point, no one's going to be known for anything. So how can someone continue to differentiate themselves so that they can move up the chain because they want to help SEs or because they want to pay raise, whatever the reason behind it? How do you go around that?
I mean, then you get into more running the business, right? So yes, I mean, you can always keep striving. You never know, right? You just continue to be known for something. I get it. That's a lot easier said than done. I don't want to belittle that, but we tend a little bit more toward what I would call businessy oriented SCs here than you would see in maybe some other companies. There are a lot of other places doing similar to us, but as an example, it's not an uncommon thing for us to have SCs go right into sales. We have lots of people that have moved from our team right into direct sales, solution sales, product management, product marketing. I mean, some of the more traditional sides. And that's a little because we have a salesy oriented SC team here. So, like it's funny, our leadership team met recently, and one of the things that we look at for more the higher end, high level SEs and SE leaders is what is the viewpoint of our sales teams as far as the capability, and the best way it can manifest itself is when we're doing succession planning for a sales leader and they say, oh, well, my emergency backfill is my SC leader. When we hear that at any of those levels, that's being known for something. Now, not as unique per se, probably unique to the relationship though, and just says a lot that they're truly partnering and running the business. Do all our sales leaders say that? No, but I've had it all the way to the top, and I've had it all the way to first, second, third line. I've had it all over the place. And I'm not saying that's the only thing people need to strive for, but it says the partnership is probably pretty tight, the trust level is tight, and you're probably on one hand at least doing some of the right things. And it goes to running the business and partnering together.
I have a lot to think about, Jeff, after this conversation. So I really appreciate that. It is time to move on to the not so fire round. These are the same 4 questions I ask almost every guest, and I want to run them by you, see what you think.
Sure.
We'll start off with, what do you love about being a global SE leader and working for such a large, successful company, other than it being successful, obviously?
Yeah. What do I love about it? I'll give you a couple of things. One, I do love the global nature of it. I can go from this morning, I talked to our leader in Denmark. I got a call a little while with someone up in Canada. I get to see the world from a business lens that's pretty difficult to do from many other positions. And then I'm, to your point, I'm working for a large, fairly successful, high growth still company. So I get to still kind of work on blazing trails into, new environments. And I just kind of walk through a really good example of that. We call it our workflow design studio. And that didn't exist 2.5 years ago. I didn't come up with the idea. I got really smart people who, started talking about it, and then we all collaborated together. And the fun thing, Ramsey, it was like literally over a weekend. We're like, let's do it. Took a bunch of piece parts and said, yeah, let's just throw that together. And then we started playing around with names and logos, I kid you not, over about a week period, and we rolled it out. And it's been around now for a couple of years. It's been pretty successful. Pretty similar thing on how we did it with, we've got a pre-sales academy here. So our SC Academy, where we hire out of college and teach them and train them. And I kid you not, it was done on the back of a napkin over a weekend. Hey, we should get, Susie and Johnny to go run it for us. And okay, let's just do that with literally no plans. Didn't really ask a lot of people. Now to today, our CEO and CFO have looked heavily into the program, heavily funded it now. We can produce 150 SEs a year now out of it. That's a lot.
Wow.
And we get direct funding outside of even the sales teams to do it. And it's probably one of the best development programs at the company right now. And so, what I love about it, the ability to go I even get to do the fail fast stuff, and, certain little pieces occasionally, and being able to do that is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it does sound exciting. Like you wouldn't think that you could do that over a weekend in such a large company. I mean, I know I struggle with my current company with changing little stuff. And so it's yeah, I can see why you would love that. Like, so the next question is, what would you change? You've already done so many. Do you have any other ideas that you're trying to implement to change maybe the SE world for the better?
Yeah, for us, it's more evolution rather than revolution, to be honest with you. So things that, like we're working on, that a lot of companies try to do with our size and scope, probably even smaller. One is how do you stripe in industry-based solutions as you get bigger and you want to do platform-based plays. Now you got to start trying to talk in industry terms. That's hard to do, by the way. I would give us, to grade us even today, I would give us a C at best. I think we're getting better at it, but and I don't know the path there. I don't have some big fancy strategic plan that says, oh yeah, here's what we're going to do in industry. I think we'll figure it out. I have confidence with that, but we need to evolve around that. But again, not revolution, evolution. I think it's more key.
That like nothing to do with the not so firearm, but you've mentioned several things that were very successful over a weekend. And you also talked about the ability to fail. Is there something that you tried to do that failed and you moved on, or I guess it was a stepping stone for something that succeeded later?
Yeah, we've had areas that have failed in relative terms, from org structure or how we go to market, et cetera. I'm struggling to think of something we've been really successful, but we've had them. Yeah, I'm not perfect. No, definitely not. Maybe I just prefer to ignore the things that failed and move on. But yeah, we've had stuff that like, you know what, that just didn't work out. Let's just pivot. But again, that's why you do some of these things, right? Of course, I don't remember the successes.
Well, it's funny because a lot of SEs, I guess maybe that's a shift in mentality. A lot of SEs remember the deals that they lost a lot more than the deals that they won, just because it's, I guess, harder to take.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, I can see that, but I'm talking not in I can remember some deals we lost that went sour. We did them and the customer got unhappy down the road. Yeah, if you want to talk about that, I could give you examples. I'd rather not, but but okay. Yeah, organizational and all that. I don't know, failed programs, they're long dead, and we put them together.
All right, cool. All right, the third question of the not so fire round: is there a book or resource you would recommend to sales engineers or SE leaders? Like, is there a book you give to a lot of people?
Yeah, it's funny. This question comes up quite often. I'm a book reader, more in fiction. I don't really read a lot of business books. I just don't. It's just not for me. I love Simon Sinek as an example. I have read his book, so I'd recommend that. I love Start With Why. I mean, that's pretty good. His newer stuff, it's okay, but I love his Start With Why. I think it works well, because I believe, by the way, our industry, back to the experiences thing, we are shifting from what we traditionally would be what, who, why, into why, how, what. And yeah, it'll take a sec for you to think about that, and I'll give you the quick example around that. But it can go to some of that Simon Sinek book stuff. And that, think about it, the what, how, why is like, here's what my product is, here's how it works, and here's why you should buy it. Okay, that's a tried and true sales model, especially single product and demo orientation. Okay, nothing bad about it. You think about what we're trying to do. What did I say? Come in, do some discovery, spend all this time up front. In other words, let me establish the why. Then I'll show you how it works, and then I'll come up with an experience, or the what. So that's this sort of shifting model from what, how, why to why, how, what.
Nice.
It's in the past 3 times. But yeah, I love his stuff. I mean, hey, I'll plug our CEO. If you're into sales and you want to be inspirational, Bill McDermott, CEO of ServiceNow, he's got a book, Winner's Dream. He wrote it years ago. That's pretty good. It's a good story. He's got a good story. He just had this hardcore start, and what was it, Bronx or somewhere in the New York area, carrying printers on his back up the stairs, and blah blah blah, and reaches up into being the CEO of SAP, and now over here at ServiceNow. It's a good story.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nobody does that anymore. I used to carry servers around, or a big chunk of routers, but never had to carry a printer on my back.
Well, Ramsey, there's this new thing called the cloud. We don't have to do that anymore.
Well, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I'll carry the cloud on my back. All right. Last question of the not so fire round: is there a habit you're working on today to improve either in your professional or your personal life?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my handicap down to about 12. Come to find out, so I grew up playing hockey, and the swings are all the same, right? But it just drives you nuts with golf as an example. And I think you can relate some of it to business here in a second, but golf's a funny one to me. Like I'm not a great hockey player, but decent enough. But you think about it, you're skating fast, the puck's moving, people are moving all around you, and I had no problem taking a slap shot and pinpointing the location. Golf, let me get this straight. There's nobody there. The ball's stationary, you're stationary, and you still can't hit the damn thing straight. I don't get it. Like, how weird is that? Right? So, I think you can apply some of that to the business world, that, practice does make perfect, and golf in particular is all about these little minute movements and all that. But I'm trying. I'm not getting there very far.
I've been to the golfing range once, and they put me in between my brother and my friend. The first whack at the ball, I hit my friend who was right in front of me. Like, not even like to where, like, the range is that way, I hit him that way. The second one, I took a whack, it hit the separator in the middle, flew over me, and hit my brother in the head. They kicked me out. So
no more for you.
Yeah, no more for me. All right, Jeff, this was amazing. Is there any question you wished I would ask you and that I didn't?
No, not at all. It was good. It was fun. Listen, I'm a big proponent, as I mentioned, of our industry. And when I say that, I mean particularly the pre-sales industry, and personally trying to elevate that as much as possible and get us that seat at the table. I love using that term. I think far too few of the pre-sales leaders really strive or maybe know how to go do that. I'm always willing to have a conversation to help anybody out to help get there. So I think we can rise up and get that done.
So if someone wants your help or needs your help, how can they reach out and connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to contact me on there, as you and I connected through there. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
Well, I appreciate your time, Jeff. Thank you.
No worries. I appreciate it too. Take care. Have a great holiday and a good New Year.
You too. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Jeff, for coming on and having that great discussion. I am jealous. So we're both Canadian, but he went somewhere warmer. So hopefully one day I get to go somewhere warm, because it's freezing in here. Let me know what you guys thought. I'm very curious, as usual. I get to learn a lot from the people I'm talking to, but I also learn a lot from people who respond to my posts on LinkedIn, or I basically learn something from almost anybody, because if we stop learning, we stop growing, actually we go backwards. So that's it for today. This is show 199, one more show to go. This is the last show before show 200, obviously, which is kind of special for me. Anyways, I will see you guys next time.